I was arguing with my ruthless hot boss in a hotel suite, but I never expected what happened when she slowly moved closer. I'm Danny Rivera, a union leader fighting tooth and nail for workers' rights, and Aria Lennox, the IC CEO, was the last person I ever thought I'd fall for. Every meeting turned into a battlefield. Every glance burned hotter than our words. I hated her power. She hated my defiance, but something deeper was pulling us in. This story is full of heat, control, and consequences. Before we start the video, buckle up, get ready, and subscribe for a special surprise tomorrow. I never expected my life to shift the moment I stepped into that polished hotel suite. The room was silent except for the soft tick of a wall clock and the distant hum of traffic from the city below. My eyes locked with hers the moment she turned. Aria Lennox, the infamous CEO of the Lennox Grand Hotels. Cold, calculating, and rumored to fire people with a smile. Her tailored suit was sharper than her words, and from the way she looked at me, I could tell she already hated me. Good. I hated her too. Danny Rivera, she said flatly, as if my name left a bad taste in her mouth. Aria, I replied, refusing to add a title. She noticed, of course. Her jaw tightened. I could see her sizing me up, calculating what kind of problem I would be. The court-mandated negotiation sessions weren't her choice. She'd been forced into this after months of protests, walkouts, and press coverage that damaged her brand. I was the face of all of it. The bold union leader who refused to back down. The woman who made headlines calling out her empire's exploitation. The table between us felt more like a battlefield than a negotiation space. Let's keep this efficient, she said, sliding a leather folder toward me. I opened it. Standard talking points. Surface-level concessions. Nothing that truly mattered. I looked up at her. This is a joke, I said. It's a start. It's an insult. She leaned forward. Then counter it. My fingers tightened around the folder. I wasn't here to play polite. I was here to make change. I will, but you're going to give more than half-hearted policies and staged apologies. Aria's lips curled in a slight smirk. You think you can intimidate me into giving away my business? I don't need to intimidate you. I just need to show the world who you really are. Her eyes darkened. For a moment, the tension wrapped around us like a thick rope, pulling tighter with every second. That was the first session. The next few weren't any better. Every day at 6 p.m., we met in that suite. Every day we clashed. She rejected most of my terms. I rejected her tone. She was infuriatingly calm, always a step ahead, never letting emotion show. But behind that polished exterior, there were cracks. I started noticing them. The way her hands clenched when her phone buzzed. The flicker of exhaustion in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. One night, we argued harder than usual. The discussion had turned into a shouting match. I stood, pacing near the window, trying to keep my voice steady. You don't care about these workers, I snapped. You care about headlines and shareholders. And you care about being a hero more than finding real solutions, she fired back. That's not true. Then stop preaching and negotiate. I turned to her, heart pounding. I've been negotiating. You've been stonewalling. Her eyes burned into mine. She stood too. Maybe because your demands are impossible. They're fair. Paid sick leave isn't impossible. Safe conditions aren't impossible. A living wage isn't impossible. The storm hit while we were still yelling. Thunder cracked, loud enough to shake the windows. The power flickered. Rain pounded the glass. My phone buzzed with a message. Roads blocked. Power outages across the city. I looked at her. Looks like we're stuck. She checked her phone too. The driver can't get here for another 2 hours. Silence filled the room again, heavier this time. I sat back down, arms crossed. She poured herself a glass of wine from the minibar and, after a pause, poured a second. She placed it in front of me without saying a word. I stared at it for a moment, then took it. We didn't talk about work after that. Instead, we talked about things that didn't belong in courtrooms or boardrooms. My father was a chef, I said quietly. Worked 20-hour shifts most of his life. I saw what exhaustion did to him. Aria didn't speak right away. Then she said, My mother ran a hotel when I was 10. I watched her sleep in staff rooms and pretend she wasn't tired. I swore I'd never live like that. I swore I'd own the place. I looked at her differently after that. There was something in her voice I hadn't heard before. A crack in the armor. Not weakness. Humanity. She sat closer now. Not right beside me, but close enough to feel the space between us thinning. "I didn't think you'd be this persistent," she said. "I didn't think you'd be this difficult." She smiled faintly. "You've been yelling at me all week, and yet you're still here." "Because I believe in what I'm fighting for." "And what if I said I believe in some of it too?" I paused. "Then maybe you're not as cold as I thought." Her eyes lingered on mine. The air shifted again. That strange electricity was back, sparking beneath our conversation. I felt it deep in my chest. I tried to look away, but I didn't. Neither did she. I didn't expect her to lean in the way she did. Just a little, barely noticeable, but enough. I wasn't breathing right. My heart raced. My mind screamed to stay focused, to remember who she was, but something stronger held me in place. Then her phone rang. The moment snapped. She pulled back, checked the screen, and stepped away to answer it. I sat there, glass in hand, trying to convince myself that nothing had happened, that I hadn't leaned in too, that I hadn't felt heat rising beneath my skin. But I had. The next morning, we didn't talk about it. She was back in her sharp suit. I was back in my blazer, but something had changed. We weren't just arguing anymore. We were watching each other, listening differently, noticing more. And every time we sat at that table, I wondered if she remembered that moment by the window. Because I did. Every second of it. The days after the storm blurred into a rhythm I hadn't expected. Our negotiations continued, but so did the tension, the kind that didn't belong on paper. Every time Arya walked into the suite, I felt it. Something unspoken that neither of us dared to name. She would sit across from me, calm and unreadable, but her eyes always lingered just a second too long. And I let them. I told myself it was nothing, that I was imagining it, that a few glasses of wine and a rainstorm didn't change anything. But then came the elevator moment. I was leaving late one evening after a long session. Arya had stayed behind to take a call. I pressed the button and waited, exhausted. When the elevator doors opened, she stepped in behind me just before they closed. Silence. Close space. Her perfume, warm and faint, curled around me like a memory I didn't want to admit I liked. She stood beside me, close enough that our arms nearly touched. I didn't move away. "You've been quieter lately," she said without looking at me. "Maybe I'm tired of yelling. Or maybe you're realizing we're not so different." I glanced at her. "I'm not sure what that means." "It means I see how hard you fight. I see what it costs you." My heart skipped. I tried to hold my ground. "You're not the only one who pays a price to lead." She turned to face me fully, eyes searching mine. "I never said I was." The elevator stopped on my floor. The doors opened. I didn't move. Neither did she. Then she stepped aside and said softly, "Good night, Donnie." I walked out, but my thoughts stayed in that elevator. The next day, she changed the tone of the negotiations. She agreed to more concessions than I expected. A better healthcare package, improved overtime policy, even hazard pay. It wasn't everything, but it was more than she'd ever offered. I stared at the papers, wondering what had shifted. "You're giving in too easily," I said. "Maybe I'm finally listening." "Why now?" Her voice dropped, quiet and careful. "Because you made me see what I've been ignoring." I didn't know how to respond. I felt my defenses crack in places I wasn't ready to admit. Later that night, I stayed behind to review the new terms. She offered me another glass of wine. I should have said no, but I didn't. We sat on the couch instead of the table this time, the papers between us forgotten. The conversation drifted again, more personal now. "Do you ever get lonely?" I asked before I could stop myself. She didn't answer right away. "Yes, but I got used to it." "Why?" "Because I thought I had to choose between love and success, and I chose this." I looked at her, surprised by her honesty. "You think it's one or the other?" For people like me, maybe. I shook my head. That's a lie we've all been told. Her eyes met mine. What about you? Are you lonely? I nodded once. Sometimes. We sat there in silence, both staring at the city lights outside the window. Then she reached for my hand. Slow. Deliberate. Her fingers brushed mine and I didn't pull away. I shouldn't be doing this, she whispered. Then why are you? Because I can't stop thinking about you. The air thickened between us. My heart beat fast in my chest, louder than the silence. She leaned in, slow and unsure, and I met her halfway. Our lips touched, tentative at first, then deeper. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't wild. It was something slower, softer, something that had been building from the start. When we pulled away, neither of us spoke for a long time. The next morning, everything felt different. Not awkward, just quiet. Her walls were still there, but not as high. Mine too. But something else came in. Doubt. People began noticing the shift. Her assistant started giving me strange looks. A few union members asked if I was being too lenient. Rumors began to stir, quiet but heavy. I heard whispers in the hallway, questions I didn't know how to answer. One afternoon, I got a call from my second-in-command, Marisol. We need to talk. People are starting to ask questions. I didn't lie. We're getting real progress, Marisol. That's what matters. Just be careful. If it looks like you're getting too close to her, they'll use it against you. The warning settled deep in my chest. That evening, I confronted Arya about it. This thing between us, I said carefully, it's starting to affect everything. I know, she replied, her voice calm but unreadable. What are we doing, Arya? Is this real or just a moment? She stood up and walked to the window. I don't know. I wasn't expecting you. Any of this. Neither was I. But I can't pretend it doesn't mean something. I walked toward her, stopping just behind her. Then what do we do? She turned slowly. I want to see where this goes, but not if it costs you everything. It's already complicated. I can handle complicated, but only if you're sure. I looked at her, truly looked at her. The woman I had hated, the woman I now wanted. I didn't know how we got here, but I knew I didn't want to run from it anymore. We'll figure it out, I said. Her hand brushed mine again, and I held it tight. But as soon as we took that step forward, everything around us started shifting faster than we could control. The next day, a leaked photo showed us leaving the hotel together. It was on a blog site within hours. The union board called an emergency meeting. The hotel investors panicked over the optics. People started questioning the validity of our negotiations. My credibility was suddenly hanging by a thread. Marisol met me in private. They're saying you've been compromised, that you made deals in exchange for favors. My stomach turned. That's not true. It doesn't matter. They believe it. I felt everything unraveling. All the progress, all the sacrifices, all the trust I'd built, and now it was being weaponized against me. That night, I went to her suite again. She already knew. We pushed too far too fast, I said. She nodded. I'm sorry. I don't regret us, but I need to fix this. I understand. There was silence, a painful one. Then she said quietly, if you want to walk away, I won't stop you. I'm not walking away from you, but I have to protect what I fought for. Her eyes held mine. Then we fight smarter, together. I didn't know what that would look like, but in that moment I knew one thing. This was more than a mistake. It was the beginning of something real. The fallout hit harder than I anticipated. Overnight, I went from being a respected union leader to the subject of scrutiny and suspicion. Headlines twisted our story into something scandalous. Meetings became tense, eyes followed me with judgment, and even those I had fought alongside began to doubt me. My credibility was being questioned, and I could feel my influence slipping through my fingers. I wanted to scream, to explain that I hadn't betrayed anyone, that I hadn't sold out. But words didn't matter now. Perception was everything, and the perception was that I had fallen for the enemy. I avoided Arya for a few days, focusing all my energy on damage control. I held emergency meetings, presented the negotiation terms again, and reminded everyone that every agreement we'd made was documented and fair. Still, I could see the hesitation in their eyes. It wasn't about facts. It was about trust. And mine had been cracked. But then something I never expected happened. Arya held a press conference. Standing in front of a wall of cameras, she spoke clearly and confidently, her voice steady as she looked directly into the crowd. I want to address the rumors about the negotiation process. Every agreement reached was the result of open and honest dialogue. At no point did Dani Cruz compromise the values of her position or her union. She pushed me harder than anyone ever has, and I respect her for it. If anyone questions the integrity of those decisions, let it be on me, not her. I watched from the back of the crowd, stunned. She didn't stop there. And yes, our connection became personal, but that didn't make her weak. It made her real. And if that cost me my reputation, then so be it. I won't hide behind boardrooms and glass doors anymore. We both deserve better than that. The room was silent. Reporters scrambled to record every word, but for a moment, all I could hear was my heartbeat. After the press conference, I went to her office. "You didn't have to do that," I said as soon as I walked in. "Yes, I did. Your board's going to come after you for this." "I don't care." I stepped closer. "You really mean that?" She looked at me with that same fearless honesty that had drawn me in from the beginning. "I meant every word. I'm tired of pretending. I want you in my life. Fully. Not in secret, not in stolen moments." My throat tightened. I want that too, but I need to fix what this has done to the people who believed in me. "Then let's fix it together." And we did. We held a joint town hall meeting with union members and hotel staff. We walked in side by side. Arya didn't try to lead or dominate. She sat and listened. She answered questions. She faced the criticism head on. And when it got tense, I stepped in. Not to protect her, but to stand with her. As equals. It wasn't easy. Some people still didn't accept us. Some probably never would. But the more they saw us work as a team, the more they began to soften. Progress replaced gossip. Trust began to mend, one conversation at a time. Weeks passed, then months. The new labor agreement was ratified. Workers received better benefits, safer conditions, and a stronger voice in operations. And for the first time, Arya launched an internal program for leadership training among staff, a suggestion I had made on day one that she had once dismissed. We still argued. We were still opposites in many ways, but the difference now is that our arguments ended not in walls, but in connection, in growth, in learning each other. One night, after a long day of meetings and planning, we sat on her apartment balcony, watching the city lights flicker beneath us. "I never imagined this is where I'd end up," I said. "Falling in love with a ruthless CEO?" she teased. "Falling in love, period." She reached for my hand. "Me neither." I turned toward her, letting the quiet linger for a moment. "Do you ever regret it?" "Us?" "Never. You gave up a lot. So did you. But was it worth it?" She smiled gently. "Every second." I leaned into her shoulder, feeling the weight of everything we had fought through and knowing it had brought us here. Not to perfection, but to something honest. Something real. Eventually, we took our relationship public, slowly, carefully, not as a spectacle, but as part of our lives. I was no longer just a union leader. I was a partner, a builder, a woman learning how to hold love and purpose in the same hand. Arya changed too. Her leadership became less about control and more about impact. She stopped leading from fear and started leading from understanding. And though she never lost that sharp edge, she let her heart lead more than she used to. Together, we built something neither of us had planned for, but both of us needed. And in the end, love didn't make us weaker. It made us better. Better leaders, better partners, better people. Sometimes I look back at that first meeting, when we sat on opposite ends of that negotiation table, full of fire and defiance. I think about how easy it would have been to walk away, to stick to what was comfortable, to keep building walls. But then I remember that love isn't about comfort. It's about choosing each other again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And I'm glad we chose each other every single time. Do you enjoy lesbian romance and passion in your life? Subscribe to our channel Anastasia TV for daily new and exciting lesbian love stories every day of the week. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell to stay up to date on our latest uploads. We can't wait to share more romance with you.